In today's episode, we'll talk about a very important part of the exhaust system, the catalytic converter. Simply put, it's one of the essential components responsible for reducing the gases and pollutants emitted from the engine after combustion. In short, it's the filter that purifies your car's exhaust before it's released into the air. This part of the exhaust has a very unique design. Inside, there's a ceramic structure shaped like small honeycomb cells, covered with a layer of precious metals such as platinum, palladium, and rhodium. These metals have a very important function because they act as a chemical catalyst, helping to filter harmful gases and convert them into less harmful ones before they leave the exhaust. In short, this part is what makes the car emit less pollution and keeps the exhaust clean. But the question here is, what can happen if this catalytic converter has a problem? And how will you know if it's starting to become clogged or damaged? That's what we'll find out together now. Ready? Let's go. What are the signs of a clogged catalytic converter? Over time, the catalytic converter can become clogged due to the accumulation of carbon deposits inside it, preventing it from operating at its normal efficiency. In this case, the car will start to show some signs that indicate the catalytic converter is becoming clogged. Let's discuss the most important of these signs. The first sign you might notice is the check engine light illuminating on the dashboard. This sometimes happens when the catalytic converter is clogged or has a problem. However, be aware that this light doesn't always illuminate because of this. To be sure, you should have the car scanned with an OBD2 scanner. You might then find codes like P0420 or P0430. These codes indicate a malfunction or that the catalytic converter isn't operating at its normal efficiency. Second sign, reduced engine power. This means you'll notice the car suddenly becomes sluggish, the engine has lost some of its power, and it's not responding as well as before. This is one of the most common signs of a clogged catalytic converter because engine performance depends on clean air intake and normal exhaust gases. When the catalytic converter is clogged, the gases don't exit normally, resulting in reduced power and noticeably slower acceleration. Third sign, a clicking sound from under the car. Sometimes high temperatures affect the internal components of the catalytic converter, causing the ceramic housing inside, which resembles a honeycomb, to break down or crack slightly. You might hear a clicking or metallic clanging sound coming from under the car, especially when you first start the engine or while driving at low speeds. If you hear this sound, don't ignore it because the problem will worsen over time and could cause further damage to the exhaust system. Fourth sign, rotten egg odor. When the catalytic converter is working properly, it's supposed to convert the gases and chemicals emitted by the engine into safe, harmless compounds. However, if it's clogged or starting to malfunction, you'll notice a rotten egg or sulfur smell coming from the exhaust. This is a clear indication that there's a problem with the catalytic converter and it needs to be inspected immediately. Fifth sign, heat accumulation under the car. If unburned gasoline reaches the catalytic converter in large quantities, whether due to faulty spark plugs or a problem with the fuel system, it will cause it to overheat. Over time, this heat can cause a blockage or damage to the converter itself. You'll also notice that the area under the car becomes noticeably hot. Sixth sign, increased fuel consumption. This happens when the catalytic converter becomes clogged due to carbon buildup inside it, resulting from incomplete combustion of the air-fuel mixture. At that point, the car's computer tries to compensate for the reduced performance by injecting more fuel into the engine, which significantly increases fuel consumption. So, what are the causes of catalytic converter blockage? To understand why a catalytic converter can become clogged, we need to know that there are several factors that directly affect it. This doesn't happen suddenly, but rather gradually due to poor combustion, deposit buildup, or even driving habits. Let's now go through the most important causes of catalytic converter blockage step by step. First reason, improper combustion of the air-fuel mixture. When the mixture is not properly balanced, the catalytic converter begins to clog over time. This is due to an increased percentage of carbon monoxide gas emitted from the engine. This gas increases when the oxygen entering the engine is insufficient for complete combustion. This can happen due to several reasons, such as faulty spark plugs, leaking fuel injectors, or a clogged air filter. Second reason, engine oil entering the combustion chamber. When engine oil starts entering the combustion chamber, a major problem occurs. When the oil reaches the catalytic converter, it forms a thick layer of carbon and black deposits. Over time, this layer clogs it and prevents it from functioning correctly. The converter then can't perform its function of cleaning harmful gases, which causes the temperature to rise in the exhaust. Over time, the pressure inside the engine increases due to the gases that can't escape freely. Third reason, using the wrong engine oil. Many people overlook the fact that the type of oil itself can cause blockages in the catalytic converter. Regular oil contains substances like phosphorus and sulfur, which are added to reduce wear and friction inside the engine. However, when the percentage of these substances is high, they begin to form deposits over time inside the catalytic converter, causing it to become blocked. That's why some engine types have specific oils in the owner's manual that are required, called low ash oils or SAPS, which are usually in category C in the ACEA oil classification. Fourth reason, inconsistent exhaust sensor readings. The exhaust sensor measures the percentage of oxygen being expelled. The exhaust gases are emitted before and after the catalytic converter, and this information is sent to the car's computer to adjust the air-fuel mixture. However, if this sensor starts to malfunction or its readings become incorrect, the computer won't be able to adjust the mixture correctly. This leads to a combustion problem, and as a result, the catalytic converter begins to clog over time. Fifth reason, short trips. If your trips are always short within the city and the car doesn't warm up properly, the catalytic converter won't be able to reach the temperature required to completely burn the hydrocarbons. Therefore, try to drive a slightly longer trip on a highway for about 15 minutes or more periodically. This will allow the temperature to reach the required level and help burn off the deposits that accumulate inside the catalytic converter. So, how do you know if your catalytic converter is clogged? There are many ways to diagnose a blocked catalytic converter, but the easiest and clearest is the temperature test. The method is very simple. First, start the car and let it idle until it reaches operating temperature. Then, keep it in park or neutral. Use a thermometer to measure the temperature at the intake pipe at the beginning of the catalytic converter, and then measure it again at the outlet pipe behind it. If you find that the temperature at the intake is almost the same as the temperature at the outlet, then the converter is blocked and there is no proper flow of gases. So, how do you clean the catalytic converter the right way? Before you attempt to clean the catalytic converter, there are a few things you need to be aware of. If the converter is so clogged that the engine won't start at all, then it must be disassembled and cleaned internally with specialized tools, or replaced entirely if its condition is critical. However, if the blockage is minor, there are several methods many people use to clean it. For example, using catalytic converter cleaning agents that are added to the fuel tank, or foaming cleaning agents that are sprayed through the exhaust sensor opening, or disassembling the converter and soaking it in soapy water or a strong cleaning agent like thinner. Some people also use high-pressure water to remove accumulated deposits inside the catalytic converter. In conclusion, we can say that the catalytic converter is a very important part of the exhaust system, and its role is essential in reducing pollution and protecting the engine. However, when it starts to become clogged or damaged, the car's performance weakens, fuel consumption increases, and you might notice a strange noise or odor. It's not normal for the exhaust to be coming out. That's why you need to monitor it regularly. If you notice any of the signs we mentioned, you must act quickly before they cause more damage. We've now explained the most important reasons and signs that will help you identify a catalytic converter problem yourself and decide if it needs cleaning or replacement. Always remember that regular maintenance is the secret to keeping your car running efficiently and without problems. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for a new episode.